Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my 10th vlog and writing process. Today's just going to be a brief video because I'm including footage from the U.S. Air Force Museum that I went to in Dayton this past weekend when I was there for the book expo. So what I'm going to talk about today in terms of writing process is very brief. So today basically is pretty much to the point where you have gotten your fourth read through done. You've gotten your edits back from your editor, and you fix any changes, and you may or may not read through as you do that. You might just jump to the change, read a little bit before to get the flow of the text, and then make the change or keep the change or whatever. But however you do it, it's, in my opinion, in my experience, what I've done with my books is that I'll go back through and do one more final read through with the intent that this time around, this fifth time, I won't change anything. If I do change anything, it's just very slight things, very small things. In my notes I have going through and using the find tool again, and going through and maybe you putting in some synonyms for words that I use a lot, or again you can always go back and check for how many times you use said, and other tags and things like that. But by this point there should be little to no errors or gaps in your story, in your text. I say little to no because you never can be quite sure until it's farther down the road. I mean, my first book, I came across a couple of errors just reading through it, maybe 5 or 6 months after I released the book. So it's just one of those things where you think you have everything all squared away, and no matter how many times you looked at it, it's right, but then you won't find out until later. So again, that's why it comes back to the importance of having other people look at your manuscript, so that way they can catch things that you don't. Another thing you can do at this point in the process is to record your word count. Now, one thing to keep in mind when doing this is if you insert things within your text, like I do, to break up the text, maybe some asterisks or squiggly lines as I call them, it's a very technical term right now, those count as words with the Word document you're using, if you're using Word. So I always go through ahead of time and count up the number of those asterisks or whatever and jot that down, and then at the end I look down at the word count in the bottom of my screen and subtract that number from the word count given, and then that's just the rough estimate. That way I can gauge future projects in terms of the timeline that I went by. With my first book, I started writing around Thanksgiving of 2013, and I finished writing, I believe, somewhere around early March, I think, and then I gave my manuscript to my editor and got it back from there. So however many weeks that was, because I go by weeks in my planning, that helped me gauge my second book, and I was fairly close to the same rate of progression in terms of writing the second book as I was in the first book. So it just kind of, you can use that as a tool to help you in your future projects if you so desire. So that's basically all I have for this point in the process, just getting that last read through in and finalizing your text. The next part will deal with getting ready for the launch of your book, and there will be other things not necessarily writing related that will go into that, but that'll be the next video. So to end today's video, I'd like to, the writing process portion of the video, I'd like to promote a book that I've read, and it's called The Fall of Berlin, 1945, written by Antony Beevor. In the last video, I talked about Stalingrad by the same author, and the way that I read these, I read them back to back, and I read Stalingrad first, and then Fall of Berlin after that, and it was a really, in my opinion, it was a really seamless read because it follows the events that took place in Stalingrad, which those events were the turning point in the war in the East especially, and then it followed from there all the way back to Berlin in May of '45. So it was a really good stretch of time covered, 1942, 43 till 45. So in my opinion, it's a good read. Again, it's by the same author, and just a lot of great information, a lot of anecdotal information, details, a lot of facts and figures and different things like that. So if you're into that kind of stuff, especially if you haven't read anything on that time of the war or that area, and you'd like to, I would suggest this book. I'll throw a link in the description so you can check it out. And that's about it. So I'll roll the footage from the museum right now, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks. this was, but I thought that's what this was.
It's a rhyme.
That's really cool. The plane is way out of scale. That's a drone.
But Germany is rebuilt.
This is cool.
But did you ever work?
What?
Remember that one, but did you ever work? You guys have better dreams. Or better dreams.
Yeah. Oh, that's a stripped down plane.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
shuttle. There's a cruise missile up there. That's crazy. That's what sits in the front.